Have you ever looked at a beautiful painting and thought, I wish I could do that? Maybe you've even picked up a brush before, but felt unsure where to start. Well, I've got good news for you. Painting isn't just for the young or the professionals. It's for you. Whether you're 60, 70, or beyond, it's never too late to explore your creativity. And today, we're going to make it simple, fun, and completely stress-free. You see, painting isn't just about creating pretty pictures. It's about expressing yourself, relaxing, and even giving your mind a little workout. And the best part, you don't need fancy supplies or years of training to get started. In fact, some of the most joyful paintings come from simple beginnings. So, if you've been curious about painting but didn't know how to begin, you're in the right place. In this video, we'll walk through everything you need to start painting without breaking the bank or feeling overwhelmed. We'll talk about the basic materials, easy ways to practice, and how to find inspiration in everyday life. And don't worry, this isn't about being perfect. It's about enjoying the process, one brushstroke at a time. So, let's start with the very first thing, what you'll need. Now, you might be thinking, do I have to buy a lot of expensive supplies? Not at all. In fact, you probably already have some of these things at home. If you've got a pencil and some paper, you're already halfway there. But if you'd like to try paints, that's great too. For absolute beginners, I always recommend starting with watercolors. They're forgiving, easy to clean up, and you don't need much to get going. A simple set of watercolor paints, the kind you might find in a stationery shop or even a toy store, is perfect. You don't need professional grade paints right now. A small palette with basic colors like red, blue, yellow, and green will do just fine. Next, let's talk about brushes. Now, brushes can range from very cheap to very expensive. But here's a little secret. When you're just starting, a few basic brushes are all you need. Look for a medium-sized round brush, that's the one with a pointed tip, and a flat brush. These two will handle most of your early painting adventures. And if you're feeling unsure, just grab a pack of inexpensive brushes from your local craft store. They'll work beautifully. Now, what about something to paint on? You might have heard artists talk about watercolor paper or canvases, but don't let that intimidate you. If you're experimenting, a simple sketchpad or even printer paper can work for light watercolor washes. But if you'd like something a little sturdier, look for a pad of watercolor paper. It doesn't have to be the most expensive kind. A mid-weight paper, around 140 pounds or 300 GSM, will handle the paint nicely without buckling. And here's a little tip. If you're not ready to commit to buying a whole pad of watercolor paper, try cutting a sheet into smaller pieces. That way, you can practice without feeling like you're wasting expensive paper. Now, before we move on, let's talk about one more thing, your workspace. You don't need a fancy art studio. A kitchen table, a desk, or even a tray on your lap will work just fine. Just lay down an old towel or some newspaper to catch any spills, and you're all set. So we've covered paints, brushes, and paper. Everything you need to take that first step. But maybe you're still thinking, what should I paint? Well, that's the fun part. It could be anything. A flower from your garden, a favorite teacup, or even just playing with colors to see what happens. And speaking of playing with colors, let's talk about how to make those first strokes feel a little less intimidating. You know, one of the most common things I hear from beginners is, I don't know what to paint. And I totally get it. Staring at a blank page can feel a little overwhelming. But here's the thing, your first paintings don't have to be masterpieces. In fact, they shouldn't be. This is your time to explore, experiment, and most importantly, have fun. So where do you start? Well, let's keep it simple. Look around you right now. Do you have a vase of flowers on the table? A favorite mug? A view from your window? These everyday things make wonderful subjects because they're familiar. and you don't have to overthink them. If you're feeling unsure, try this. Take a photo of something you like with your phone or camera. Then use that photo as a reference while you paint. You don't have to copy it perfectly, just let it guide you. Now, if drawing freehand feels a little intimidating, here's a handy trick. Use a grid. Take your reference photo and lightly draw a grid over it with a pencil. Just 2 or 3 lines across and 2 or 3 lines down. Then, lightly draw the same grid on your paper. This breaks the image into smaller, more manageable sections, so you can focus on one part at a time. It's like putting together a puzzle. And remember, this is just a guide. You can erase those grid lines later or paint right over them. Another great way to build confidence is to start with simple shapes. Think about a sunset, for example. You don't need to paint every detail, just soft layers of color blending together. Or try painting a single leaf. Notice the curves, the veins, the way the light hits it. When you focus on small, simple subjects, you'll be amazed at how quickly you start to see like an artist. Now let's talk about color mixing, because this is where the real magic happens. If you're using a basic set of paints, you might not have every shade under the sun, but that's okay. With just red, blue, and yellow, you can mix almost any color you need. For example, red and yellow make orange, blue and yellow make green. And if a color feels too bright, try toning it down with a tiny bit of its opposite on the color wheel, like adding a touch of green to red to soften it. Here's a little exercise to try. Take a scrap piece of paper and make tiny puddles of your primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. Then play with mixing them together to see what new colors you can create. It's like being a scientist in your own little lab. And don't worry about wasting paint. This is how you learn. As you get more comfortable, you might want to experiment with different techniques. For example, try wet on wet painting. Wet your paper first with clean water, then drop in some paint. Watch how the colors bloom and blend on their own. It's mesmerizing. Or use a dry brush for texture, like rough tree bark or the petals of a flower. There are no rules here. The more you play, the more you'll discover what you enjoy. And speaking of enjoyment, let's talk about inspiration. One of the best ways to stay motivated is to watch other artists paint. YouTube is full of wonderful tutorials for beginners. Just search for easy watercolor painting or relaxing painting tutorial. You'll find artists who paint slowly, explain clearly, and remind you that mistakes are just part of the process. Sometimes I'll follow along with the tutorial step by step, and other times I'll just watch for ideas and then try my own version. Now, if you're thinking, but what if my painting doesn't turn out the way I want? Well, that's perfectly normal. Even professional artists have days where things don't go as planned. The key is to keep going. Every painting teaches you something, even if it's just, I don't like that color combination. And remember, you can always paint over something, let it dry and try again, or even turn a mistake into a new idea. That blob of paint that went outside the lines, maybe it's the start of a beautiful background. So far, we've talked about choosing subjects, simplifying with grids, mixing colors, and finding inspiration. But there's one more thing that's just as important as the technical stuff: your mindset. Painting isn't about being good or bad. It's about giving yourself permission to create without judgment. Some days you might paint for 5 minutes. Other days you might lose track of time. Both are wonderful. And with that in mind, let's talk about how to take those first strokes from practice to something you're truly proud of. You know, one of the most beautiful things about painting is that it meets you exactly where you are. Some days you might feel like creating something detailed, a landscape, a portrait of a grandchild, or a still life of your favorite things. Other days, you might just want to play with colors and see where your brush takes you. and both of those are perfect. Now that you've experimented with simple subjects and color mixing, let's talk about how to build on what you've learned. If you've been working in a sketchbook or on small pieces of paper, you might feel ready to try something a little bigger, like a canvas or a watercolor board. But here's the thing, you still don't need expensive materials. Many art supply stores sell small, affordable canvases or pads of watercolor paper that are perfect for beginners. And if you're not sure, ask for help. The staff are usually happy to point you toward budget-friendly options. Another way to grow your skills is to revisit the same subject more than once. For example, paint the same flower or teacup a few times, trying different techniques each time. Maybe the first time you focus on getting the shape just right. The next time you experiment with bold colors or loose, expressive brushstrokes. You'll be amazed at how much you learn by approaching the same subject in new ways. And don't forget, painting doesn't have to be a solo activity. Invite a friend or family member to join you. Set up a little painting session together, either in person or even over video call. Share your work, laugh about the happy accidents, and encourage each other. Art is even more joyful when it's shared. Now, let's talk about something that trips up a lot of beginners: knowing when to stop. It's easy to keep adding just one more detail until the painting feels overworked. Here's a little trick I use. When you think you might be finished, step back, literally. Take a few steps away from your painting and look at it from a distance. Often, you'll notice that what felt like a mistake up close actually adds character when viewed as a whole. And if you're still unsure, set it aside for a day or two. Fresh eyes can make all the difference. As you keep painting, you might start wondering about framing or displaying your work. And why not? Even simple studies can look lovely on a shelf or hung on the wall. You don't need fancy frames. Try clipping a painting to a piece of colored cardboard or placing it in an inexpensive clip frame. Seeing your art displayed is a wonderful reminder of how far you've come. And speaking of progress, take a moment now and then to look back at your earlier paintings. You might not notice the improvement day by day, but over weeks and months, you'll see how much more confident your brushstrokes have become, how your eye for color has grown. That's the magic of practice. It adds up without you even realizing it. Most importantly, remember this: painting is a gift you give yourself. It's not about producing something for others to judge. It's about the quiet joy of creating. Some days the paint will flow effortlessly. Other days it might feel like a struggle. Both are part of the journey. So what's next? Grab your brushes, pick a color that makes you happy, and make that first stroke. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. And if you'd like, share which creations you are working on or would like to work on in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more relaxing, creative projects. Remember, it's never too late to pick up a brush and discover the artist inside you. Happy painting, and here's to many colorful adventures ahead. And if you don't fancy trying your hand at painting at the moment, maybe one of our other subjects may inspire you. How about these? Thanks again, and bye for now.